So I think a lot of people definitely have a huge problem when it comes to consistency. And if you think you don't have a problem when it comes to consistency, let me just say this real quick. Consistency is basically continuously doing the same things, kind of in like a pattern or just over time. So if you are language learning, for example, and you are not consistent, you're not studying, multiple times a week at the same, you're not maintaining that same frequency of study. And what actually happens when you do that is that you start to make a less progress until you actually start making no progress. And nobody wants to make no progress. So in this video, I'm basically going to explain how to maintain language learning consistency so that you can continue to make progress. And there is one secret that I've found is overall the best way to actually not fall into kind of like a rut where you're not really doing a lot of studying and it just gets very unproductive. So first, let's identify the actual problem. And the problem that you think is the problem is actually the symptom of a bigger problem. So here's you attempting to do various language learning tasks. So for example, you might be doing flashcards, you might be trying to do reading, whatever you want to do to learn a language, right? And effectively, you have very limited time to do this because you're a busy person, or maybe you don't manage your time very well, but probably because you have like a job and you've got a bunch of other things to balance it with. And so you run out of time and you simply can't find any time to actually do these things. And what that results in is inconsistent learning, which results in a lack of progress, which of course results in frustration because you want to become better at the language. Although limited time I've circled here as the kind of problem, this is actually the symptom of a bigger problem. The real problem when it comes to inconsistency is all to do with time management. And as I'll explain on the next slide, I guarantee you have more time than you actually think you do in ways that you don't even realize yet, which we're going to talk about when we talk about habit stacking and a bunch of other things. And I just want you to understand that just because you perceive that you don't have a lot of free time doesn't actually mean that you can't learn a language, because the way you manage the time you have and the way you create more time without actually getting rid of other important tasks is super, super, super beneficial to making progress in a language. So now that we understand the real problem is how you manage the time you currently have, let's talk about how we can actually manage our time better to improve consistency. The number one secret to consistency, in I think a lot of things, but also language learning, is planning. So if I move this out of the way, it doesn't want to let me move this. There we go. The secret to consistency is planning, and I'll explain why. So at the moment, you're either not planning or you're planning very badly. The reason planning is extremely important is because planning is key to managing your time effectively. If you don't plan tasks into your day, if you don't have a habit tracker or any of the things we're about to talk about, you're kind of like a leaf in the wind, where if you've got a really busy day and you get to the end of the day and you're really tired, you've effectively not done you've not made any progress in the language you're learning that day, because you haven't actually organized the day, you haven't planned when you're going to do things, and because you haven't planned, you're not using your time very efficiently. It's kind of like putting your time through a filter where you get way less than you actually should get out of it. And when you plan, you actually remove that filter. So here are 3 things, and I want you to pay attention. Here are 3 things that I think you should do to build language learning consistency. The number one thing is to do one thing every single day, no matter what. If you're very inconsistent with language learning, I guarantee you implementing this and doing one thing every single day will not only cause you to actually get better at the language, but it will make you feel as if you're making more progress as well. And I think when you feel that you're not making any progress, it's very easy to get demotivated, because the perceived pain of doing flashcards or any kind of learning method kind of outweighs the growth you're getting, because you don't think you're making any progress. So for this one thing that I recommend you do every day, even if you're busy, I guarantee you can do one thing for 5 to 10 minutes. So it could be learning a couple different words. It could be looking over a vocab list. It could be writing a small paragraph. It could be reading a page of a book. It could be watching a vlog that's 5 minutes. It could be many, many different things. Just something small that you could do every single day, that even if the day is a complete write-off and you're working 18 hours and you get no sleep, the fact that you've done this one 5-minute task makes you feel as if you were actually productive to an extent in the language you're learning. So I'd highly recommend that. The second thing I would recommend is to schedule in study sessions when you can. So you don't have to, personally, I do try and study every single day. I've actually made a habit tracker. If you want to have a look at my habit tracker, definitely check out the link in the description to the Discord, because I posted in there. It's completely free and we talk about a bunch of language related stuff. So that's pretty cool. But As far as study sessions go, I'd recommend everyone schedules in a few of them each week, maybe 1 hour each, where you can just go over flashcards, you can study vocab you don't know, you can watch videos and take notes on grammatical things that are difficult, basic things like that. If you want to actually know what you should be doing to study, I'll have a video linked in the description below. But basically, scheduling in a few study sessions on the days that you're not busy, and preferably pushing them towards the start of the day to get them out of the way, can be super beneficial. And the third thing I think you should do to absolutely maximize your consistency, and this is an absolute godsend when you start doing it, is to start journaling. So whenever you are inconsistent or whenever you face any kind of problem at all, a lot of the time, if you do try and problem solve at all, which a lot of people don't, when you try and problem solve, you're just kind of thinking things over. I guarantee you, if you start journaling whenever you encounter a problem, you start actually writing things out on the page, putting words on the page, you will find solutions 10 times quicker, and the solutions will be 10 times better. I've noticed this in every area of my life. Whenever I have a problem, whenever I'm struggling with something, simply journaling about it does help a lot with fixing it. So I would highly recommend you every single week, at least once a week, to journal. I journal on a Sunday at the end of the week to do a reflection going into the next week. What went well, what didn't go well, and this will give you two things. One, you will actually be able to see the progress you made, and you'll be proud of yourself for the work you did put in. And the other thing is that you'll be able to reflect on the things that didn't work and improve them so that they can become next week's positives. But yeah, and the final thing I will say is when you're not consistent, do not get emotional, don't get frustrated. That just makes it way easier to procrastinate and put off language learning, because you're associating language learning with frustration. Just problem solve. So whenever it's like, okay, I've had 2 weeks of doing absolutely no study because I've just been so busy and I don't feel like doing anything, just problem solve. What's one thing I can do? What's the first step I can take? And then you take a second step after that and the third step, etc. But that's basically all there is to consistency. If you have any questions, comment down below. If you want to join my course for language learning, I've got it linked in the description. Definitely hit the like button and the subscribe button, and thank you for watching, guys.